Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm very glad you're with us today. My friends, on occasion, listeners have asked me why, if people whose bodies have died really are still alive and are right here where we are, then why is it so hard for us to talk with them, for heaven's sake, and hear them? And believe it or not, there's a good answer to that question. Think about television. Right now, in the room around you, there are hundreds of television channels, and there's your Channel 5 newsman live on TV right now in the room, and your Channel 4 newsman live on TV right now, right? And they're at almost exactly the same vibration, the two of them, but even being this close isn't close enough. They can't talk to one another without electronics, can they? And the same thing is true of you and your loved one. You and they are at almost the same vibration, but almost isn't quite close enough. To be perfectly frank, we expect too much. We assume that just because we want it to be easy to communicate with our dead loved ones, it had better be easy. And if it isn't easy, then we find it so hard to believe that they are still alive. And meanwhile, the veil that separates their vibration from ours, their channel, if you will, is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And that is by design. It's been going on now for about the past 100 years. And meanwhile, while that thinning is going on, experts have been working with electronic communication for the past 60 odd years or so with a few living lab assistants, and we've had them on with us. Sonia Rinaldi and Annabella Cardoso, too, who will be back with us in a few weeks, incidentally. They're working to develop actual electronic communication with your dead Aunt Mildred. But that's proving, as we've seen, to be a very tough slog. And until they get it working very well, our most available means of communication with our own dear beloved family and friends who have left their bodies but still are very much alive still is mental mediumship. And as I know, and you know, I am the world's worst offender in that area. I have a terrible record with mental mediums because, frankly, I don't believe in it, even though I know it works, to the point where I am embarrassed even to consult them at this point. I mean, these people are mind reading with dead people. How come that possibly works? I know it works, but I just don't believe in it. It's terrible. I'm embarrassed to say it. And our guest today is yet another wonderful, true mental medium. Our guest today, his name is Tom Flynn, and he's a dear, dear, wonderful man. And I am going to speak with him and tell him very frankly that I know from our mutual friend, and I know from his story that he's genuine. And he and I are going to talk very frankly about his talents. He's going to tell me about his history, and I'm going to ask him to tell me his story. But I don't know if he's able to do it in my presence because I am a skeptic. Tom Flynn is a wonderful man who has been giving evidence of survival and providing healing all around the world. He's also a healer, by the way. He's the youngest of a family of 7. His Irish Catholic parents transitioned when he was young, so they've been able to help him and support him from the world of spirit. Tom has traveled the world demonstrating his clairvoyant and clairaudient mediumship and providing healing help. He's served its spirit in Australia. I've seen a picture of him in Sydney. He's an adorable man. And he's also worked in Canada, Belgium, Spain, Malaysia, and Costa Rica, and in the United States. For the past 16 years, he's been a regular demonstrator at San Francisco's Golden Gate Spiritualist Church. And as we know, of course, that's in California. Now he lives on the south coast of England, from which he speaks to us today. Tom, welcome. It's so lovely to have you with us.
Thank you. Each time I do this, it's a completely different experience, to be honest. And I must say, I do love what you said about being skeptic, because there's nothing wrong with that. I go myself to watch other mediums, and so I'm skeptic. So I have to say, well, is this really happening? You know?
Bless you, sir. Aren't you a wonderful, wonderful person? Our
Because
friend Max told me you were. He said I was going to love you, and I think I do already. Thank you.
You know, I didn't, I'm quite honest, I didn't know where my path was going. You know, look, you can imagine that the Catholic parents, yeah, okay, that's fantastic, but it don't make me what I am today. All they are there from them realms is to maybe guide me and show me the way forward in my own life. That's what my plan was, you know, because I don't mind saying this. I did struggle as a young man in school, maybe because of the insecurity, and I went into a little shell, you know, this little boy, 5 years old, you know, starting school and having no one there to go home and cuddle him. Maybe, just maybe. But having 3 brothers and 3 sisters, maybe it gave me that purpose in life of reaching out with them, you know, of what I had to do. But as I grew within, I certainly knew what my purpose was. I want to say to you that my first very experience of the spirit world was as a little boy. Would you like me to tell you?
Of course.
Right. My mum, you know, love her, you know, now dwells in that world, her world, where she's moving forward with love with her husband, my father, and her siblings, you know, and so on and so on. But this particular night, you know, I'm the baby of the family. So being the baby of the family, Thomas had to sort of cuddle up to mum, you know, because she wasn't very well. Now, you can imagine this. She knew what I was doing. She knew I was trying to help in some way of a sadness that she had of losing my father, you know, which is very natural. So I was comforting her in some way, you know, to the best I could. And then suddenly, to my absolute surprise, to my amazement, in the distance, you've got to have a great imagination here, because I see this, being a little boy, they say that you don't tell lies and you tell the truth, yes?
Yes.
Right. As a little child, you always say what you see. I'm cuddling up to my mum, and into the distance, and it got closer and closer and closer, was this extremely powerful white light. And within this white light appeared my loving father.
Oh, wow.
And now, remember, I'm only a small child. Now, I don't know, I'm sure people have listened to your show on many occasions and had many stories, but this is a true story from a little boy's heart, which I was. And I found myself, for no reason, I don't know how this was happening. You said mediumship from the mind. I'm getting very touched, if I'm quite honest about it, as I'm talking to you. I found myself talking to my loving father, who I love dearly, through my mind. Now, you're talking about a small child of 5, 6 years old doing such a thing. And I knew why he was here as a little boy, because my mum was very sick. And a while after that, my mum did pass into the spirit world. So he was coming to tell his little man that everything will be okay.
Yeah.
I will be taking her home and others will look after you as such.
Yeah.
And so I left it at that. And I went on my little journey, as one says, through schools. I will say this very quickly. From the age of 5 up to the age of 15, school wasn't for me. No. I think I blocked it. When I left school, at the age of that, I couldn't read. I couldn't tell the time. I couldn't spell. But the last year, this is the puzzling bit. You don't tell a boy whose friends are going out into the world and know what they want, and they've been telling their parents what they want and what they don't want and where they want to be when they leave school, college, university, or start something in a little shop. I really didn't know. But I had this experience where the teacher said, would you stay on for an extra year? Now, I've been to school now for 9-10 years, nothing, no help. I was a little boy in the classroom. When I mean scribbling, I mean making scribbling features on the page. Yeah. Everything that I'd done, even at the age of 15. And it took them all that time to tell me, would you love to stay on? Now, okay, fair play. They're trying to help me, but shouldn't have done that 10 years ago.
Yes, maybe so. Yeah.
And this is by now, the age of 15. You can imagine having a big family of 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Now, sadly, we lost a sister 2 years ago, our eldest sister, and we lost 2 brothers. But being that little baby, is this the right words? Being pushed to pillar to post to be looked after in some way. You probably have heard of this before, maybe not. Okay. But I put this in my book, actually. I wrote a book through help. I never done any of the writing, but I put these words in this. And because of the help I had as a young boy, I just didn't know where my life was taking me. I really didn't. No. So after school, I still struggled for some amount of time with this and this is the truth now. It went into my teens. So you're going into 20, 21 and so on.
Well, did you have any sense of your parents around you all this time?
Yes. I always knew, let's call them my angels. I always knew even to today, my spirit helpers are my mum and dad.
Yeah.
So I call them my angels. People, when I'm working this day, see my parents with me on the platform. Other mediums have described my mum, that some people have described my dad, and so on and so on. But this purpose that I was looking for, I didn't really know. Now, I'm laughing because I think it was funny. I walked along the road here. You can imagine a busy high road. And there was a shop. It had, by this time, I knew little words through memory. So remembering things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Remembering what the word was.
You really grew up wild. You didn't have any parenting, even from your own siblings.
But I'm pleased to tell you that for some reason I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't take drugs. I never strayed in any way. Now you can find that strange, but I was just this little, maybe innocent little boy. But I see in this window vacancies. I walked in there and it was a bakery, and they said, yes, we have a vacancy for a skilled baker. Are you a skilled baker? I said, yes.
Of course.
I said, yes, I am that skilled baker. Is there a vacancy for that position? And the lady says, yes, when can you start? So, of course, this young man, a big smile on his face, thinking, oh, this is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to be doing for all my life. You know, I'm going to be this baker, even though I'm still getting these strange, wonderful vibrations of someone's with me, watching over me, and so on and so on. So I went into that bakery and I said to the other guy that worked there, could you show me how to do this? I said, I'm a bit rusty, you know. I said, you've got to show me how you work. What I was really trying to do was, because I couldn't really read the yeast and I couldn't read what the things to put in to add to make a loaf of bread. And so I was watching what ones he was putting into the big bowl to make the bread. I've got to laugh because it's
yes.
So once, and because of the sharpness of a young boy not able to read and write and things like that, it's all by memory, you know, with that, you know, it's all, I have to remember little words, so, and little things. And so once he showed me that once, you know, Mr. Tom, he knew how to make a loaf of bread in my mind, you know, and then so on, I went on to be a baker, you know, for many years. So, but I was still with family. I was still living with one sister to a brother, and so on and so on, if that makes sense to you, right?
Yeah.
Until one day, let's go on to now. I'm still getting all these visions. I'm still seeing these things. I see white lights flying around the room. My room is completely lighting up to brilliant white for some reason, laying in bed, you know, as a young boy, and wondering what they are. So by now, I'm not taking notice of them. You know, I'm just letting them go over my head, you know, and still feeling the presence of someone there, okay? Like someone would say,
were you getting messages from people?
I really was, and this is where the biting point comes here, is the fact I got a phone call from my mum's sister. Her name's Mary. Her name is she's in the spirit world as well now, and I'm sure she watches over me now and probably sort of really happy for me. And she said, "Would you please come round to my home?" I think it was a Wednesday night, something like that. I said, "Certainly, Aunt Mary." So I went round there in my scruffy jeans, T-shirt. You can imagine how I was dressed there. I didn't know how to dress. I didn't know what she wanted there. And I went there and there was people sitting in a front room. There was about 7 to 8 people sitting around in a circle. She had a developing circle.
Oh, my.
So these people have been sitting in this circle for many years. There's a lady told me she sat there for 10 years and another one for 5 years and another one for 6 months, you know, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so my mum's sister, lover, she said, "Thomas, it's your turn. Now, can you imagine?" I said, "Thomas, what have I got to do, Aunt Mary?" She said, "Just open your mouth," she said. What a thing to say. What a thing to say. And from all this time of, you know, meeting my father when he passed, from meeting my dad until experiencing different things. I even, from a little boy, I had visions of my settee opening up and I used to see pictures on the wall, you know, things like this. And so suddenly I sat there and suddenly all started coming back into my mind, all these pictures and all these visions.
Oh,
and she said, "You start now." And then there was about 7 people in the circle, and all those 7 people got something from me that night.
Oh,
all
my
7.
Goodness.
And afterwards, they were saying to me, "How long you been doing this for?" I said, "Tonight."
Yeah, just tonight. Oh, so it's in your family, obviously.
Yeah. And my dad, God bless him, he had the gift of healing. That's why maybe, well, I don't believe that it comes from parents, you know, but he was a healer and he helped didn't help public, he helped family. I had a sister called Phyllis who was very sick. She had what they call a twisted stomach. Have you heard of that? Where she was very unwell, and my dad was told to put his hands on his daughter and to have faith and to help. And she come back to us. She really come back to us. And it's funny, I only spoke to her about 2 hours ago on the phone, asking me to meet her tomorrow, to go and have a nice sandwich and something to eat, whatever, and a cup of tea, And after that day of walking, I left the house and she said, now get on with it. I said, get on with what? You can imagine. So there's me. Now, I've got to tell you, playing football, chasing after women, what does a young boy do at that age?
Oh, right.
In their mid-20s, So from doing all these things, suddenly in my mind, I felt I had a purpose. She was leading me my auntie was leading me, in that right direction.
Yes.
I mean, with me, you need all night, don't you? God. And I had a purpose in life, She was trying to tell me that you have a gift, you have, and I got very emotional. You can imagine I got very emotional. This young, not tough guy, but, boy, I'm a man. I don't cry, Suddenly this man that was in her house was having a few tears, and she had to give me a little hug, because I wondered what was happening to me, as you can imagine. It was
that's really big.
It was something different. And so that's when she said, get on with it. And now I'm a great lover of soccer. It's soccer. I will say soccer because you call football is the rugby game, isn't it? The padded people, isn't it? The football. But we call it soccer in the UK. And for some reason, my team was losing. Right? I know it sounds like a story, but it's a true story. And I was so fed up. I went outside because I didn't want to see them letting any more goals, or I didn't want them to lose, And so I went outside and I walked a couple of blocks down the road and I see this sign saying Spiritualist Church. I'll give this a try, I thought, I really did. I walked into the church. Cut a long story short, there was a lovely man up there giving a lovely talk. He was giving prayers. He was giving messages, things like this. Until 3 weeks later, something like that, I knew I had to return back to that church. And it was an afternoon service, I've got to say, a Monday afternoon. I can see it as clear as daylight. I really can. All right. And I went back to that church, and the chairperson that chairs the medium on the day was panicking. You can imagine, what I'm going to say next. And yes, it really is a true story, what I'm telling you. Yep. And she stood up and said, is there any mediums in the room today in the church?
Yes.
Silly me, because my aunt, you're talking about going back. Just imagine what I was seeing as a young boy. So because my mum's sister, Aunt Mary, said, you can do this. You get on with it now. I stood up and put my hand up. Oh, would you do it, please? Would you take the service? I said, of course.
Will you just take the service?
So I stood up. I got up on the service and she said, what's your name? I said, my name's Tom. She didn't ask for my last name, so I just said Tom. And so she said, would you do... I'm laughing already, look. Would you do a prayer, Tom? I said, oh, no, I can't do that. So we left that. And she said, well, can you do a small talk in some way? I said, no. And, well, can you do the messages? I said, I can do that. Now, because I gave messages in the church, there I am thinking I can, can stand up there and give messages. And to my surprise, there I am giving messages to people in that church that afternoon. And from that day, it started on a level of a church local area, another church in another area, until it got bigger, until people got to know me and they started asking me in the UK, until I travelled, all over the UK. And it went on from there.
People should just know that in the UK, the spiritualist churches are very common, and it's really a very prominent spiritual movement in the UK. I've been to a number of churches, not there, but in the United States, and spiritualism is very prominent in parts of the United States as well, but not nearly the way it is in the British Isles. It's quite prominent there. But what's funny is you can see your parents moving behind the scenes,
pushing me in the back. Pushing me in the back, probably. They were probably pushing me, to do this.
They were. You can watch them. Just the pair of them. They're so proud. It's sort of like their child is getting more and more sort of confident about what he can do. It's sort of like, and his piano recitals more and more. They're pushing him forward, and proud as they can be. It's really funny. You can just see them. I can just see the pair.
I can see him. I can see him in my man's eye now. Laughing at both of us. Both of us talking. And like I said, I found myself as we spoke that. I found myself travelling all over the UK and into Scotland and into Wales, and you can imagine the Republic of Ireland. I've been going to the Republic of Ireland for the last 5 years, but because of what's been happening health-wise for us all, it hasn't. I was unable to go there, But how I got to my travelling. So there I am travelling the UK. So now I'm into my early 30s, mid 30s, say. So I've travelled at the UK with my work, and I still do work in the UK, of course, to spiritualist churches and so on. And then I got a phone call from this lady. She was a country and western singer from Ireland. And she said to me, would you like to come and do some work for us over here? And she got me this radio station, and I spoke on the radio like I am now. Very nervous, believe it or not, I'm very nervous talking here tonight. And there she got me this little door, this lady, and she put me up. And from that day onwards, I didn't look back in Ireland because I loved it there. Look at my name, Tom Flynn. But I do believe that somewhere in my dad's family there was Irish in his family, even though his father took him to Wales as a little boy. So it's all confusing.
Where did you get involved in healing? Because that's also something you do, right?
Well,
and who is Dr. Eisenberg?
I was working what they call a spirit artist. They draw, and I do the messages. And this is how that happened. And he gave the guy to me. But I've also since then I've got another picture of him with another artist. I wished I could send these things to you because you'd love it. Because two other people done exactly the same portrait, similar to this man. And because of my difficulties, even to today, this has always been my worries. But when I travel and when I go here, when I go there, I just copy from papers. Yeah, that's what I do. Copy. Just copy off a paper, and hopefully that it's all correct. Anyway, and how I come across the healing was one day it's strange because I was in a spiritualist church. So I was with this artist. His name was Tony. And so he was doing the portraits. I was linking into his portrait to who the loved one belonged to. Then suddenly, out the blue, it's all progress. Look, from a young child up to my teens, to do it starting in my 20s into my mid-30s. I started doing this. I said, I want to come to you. Just imagine it's a man. I said, do you have a problem to your back? Yes. I'll come back to you in 5 minutes and let me just tell me how you feel afterwards. So there I'm carrying on now, doing the message, linking in with the portrait all at once, and still sending my spirit angel guide, Dr. Eisenberg, to this person. But my dad as well. I believe my dad works with me on the love vibration for healing. I've come back to that person 5 minutes later and asked them how they feel. And they're telling me, oh, my pain is eased off. My pain is eased off and out. I have got articles in newspapers with my work, with my spiritual work, and with the healing. And that's how I started the healing. And then it continued. And I was discovered as the healing medium healing. So when I was going to the church, I was doing two things in one night. I was sending out healing to the audience and also doing messages.
Well, so how does the healing work? Do you lay hands on people, or do you?
I do. I've got to say, there was a time when I was in. I'll give you a couple of stories.
Okay.
I was in Ireland, and these people. I was talking about my healing, and these people called in and asked me if I would come down to the hospital in Cork City, which was about 50 miles away from where I was, to come and see their daughter. The radio DJ, I said, of course I would. The radio DJ who was interviewing me that day drove me all the way to Cork City in his own time after his show had finished, to take me to the hospital to see his daughter. What happened with their daughter? She had fell off her pony, or horse, they call it pony there, and she had a brain hemorrhage.
Oh no.
And the doctors and everything, I walk in, they wonder who I am. They got to let me in because I'm with the young lady's parents. And they're looking at me like, we can't do much for the daughter anymore. Now, this is a true story.
Oh, no.
I put my hands around, I didn't touch her. I put my hands around her head. And I said to the people, give it 4 days. 4 days, and see how it goes. They didn't have much hope for her to survive.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm pausing and I'm gasping here because I got a phone call from these people saying, would you come to our home? They gave me the address, so on. I went there. What it was, the young lady wanted to see me and she wanted me to give her another healing. She had come back home to them.
She survived?
She survived.
Oh.
Truthfully, this is a true story. I wouldn't lie. This is a true story. And I had a lady down in the children's ward. Would you put your hand on my son's leg? And whatever it was. And he walked out the hospital the next morning, And the healing started getting more stronger. Not me. It's with my angels using me as an instrument, my dad, so on. But
so who's Dr. Eisenberg? Because I have that name. Who is it?
It's my friend was telling me he was a surgeon in America, in New York, who works with me. But I have other people as well. I don't just have the one.
Oh, so there are people in spirit who work through you.
Yes. And so there's other ones as well. But this young lady, she couldn't believe this family. And after I went to see them, they must have been so frightened. I don't know, but they never contacted me again. I
wouldn't be frightened. Know. I'd be like, oh my goodness, how many more people can we cure? That's amazing.
I mean, there was a man in America in Sacramento in California who was going to have an operation to pay a lot of money out for his back. And I put my hands on his back, and he was able not to have the operation. And he must have thought, thank God for that, you know, and I thank Spirit. And there was this other young man in Ireland. He had sports injuries. He used to do all the marathons all over the world, you know. He was one of these guys. And he said to me, what do you charge? I said, I don't charge. If you want to give me a donation, I'm happy with that, you know. And
oh, my goodness. But
put
Tom,
my hand.
does it always work, Tom? When you're called in?
I will really come to that after I tell you this one more story.
Okay.
And then I put my hands on his back, and he sort of found himself moving, you know, moving a bit much better, you know. And
Yeah.
I think it was I suppose he was seeing how his back felt. 2 weeks later, he come back. He said, please, can I have another session with you? I said, certainly. So he didn't really need to see me, I don't think. But I put my hands on his back, and he said to me that I'm all right now. And he gave me my donation, which is a little bit more, you know. so
oh, my goodness.
I could tell you lots of stories, slip disc, curvature of the spine, where people have had spine problems and the spine going back and different things. Very good with bones, yeah? Very good with the bone, with the body. And, it's very emotional. There was there was another man, he had cancer and he couldn't eat. And this Irish family asked me round to their house. And every time he see me, his eyes lit up, because all I was doing was putting my hand on his chest area, and he was able to eat. He was able to eat. There you go. And but eventually he was dying. The man was dying, bless him. But for that little while longer, he was able to eat. And there's another lady. We're talking about another country in Canada, in Vancouver. No, Calgary. You've heard of that?
Of course.
Calgary in Vancouver. And I went there and I stayed there, and I was sending distant healing to this lady. She said, would you come over? And I went over they paid for my flight. These people, you know, she paid for my flight. I went over there and she said, the healing you're giving me today, I feel exactly the same to when you were sending it to me on an absent vibration.
My goodness.
Lovely lady. I think I still got photographs for the family and that and things like that. And they give me the big flag of the Canadian flag, the big leaf.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and I truly love that. But it helps. Healing helps. And it can take things away. And this is where it comes. I feel some people it can help and some people it can't.
Well, it looks like it's an orthopedic kind of help more than an organic kind of help.
I wasn't sort of like moving my hands and doing that. I was just putting my hand where the condition was, basically.
Right.
Yeah. And there was there's been children.
That's astonishing. I mean, a little girl with a brain hemorrhage.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and she survived. Yeah, and
wow,
there was some
what we call amazing, Tom.
What we call in England is travellers. There was this traveller family contacted me in Ireland as well, and had the similar experience, but something else, so on and so on. So with the heal, I love I think spirit is healing. It is. It truly is. The spiritual work is the healing of the body, the mind, and the spirit, as you know.
Yes.
And if I don't feel if you're doing in the right way and you're doing it with a purpose, I can't see. Heart is pure, and I believe that it's the right thing to do. It really is. Me and you could sit here and talk for hours. Did you know that?
Isn't it fun?
Because I'm only giving you little bits. What do I say?
Oh, my dear. Well, we're coming now to the end of our time. What do you want people to take from our conversation today?
love. The love of knowing that there is a lot of help out there if they want it. There's good people out there that can help you in some way with peace and hope that, yes, we are there to help you.
And I shouldn't be such a skeptic, right, Tom?
No, yeah, just one little thing. I'd done this charity thing in Ireland, in Dublin. You've heard of Dublin, haven't you?
Of course.
Right. I went to this, there was this lady contacted me. Would I do an evening of clairvoyance in a hall in Dublin for children with cancer? And there was 500 people, over 500 people. And I said to the people, who does not believe in me? They all put their hand up, of course, you know. And I said, who believes in me? No one put their hand up, maybe one or two, you know. But I got this actor, this Irish actor involved. And because I think there was quite a bit of money raised, as you can imagine, you know, for this. And he said, like, I can come there and I can help you, you know, because he was an Irish actor. I wished I knew his name. And he said, I can come there and give the check with you. I said, okay. He stayed for the 2 hours. He sat on the platform with me while I was doing a demonstration. Afterwards, he said to me, can I take you for a drink? I don't drink. I said, but yes, you can take me for a drink.
Of course you can. You're right.
He gave me his personal telephone number. He said, when you're in Ireland again, contact me. But I never. But he gave me all that. He stayed. He was only staying for 5 minutes, end up staying. And I was end up with him for 4 hours. There you go.
That's lovely. Isn't it good? Okay. You're right. There are many very good people in the world. And they're an example really to us all. And I think that's a wonderful way to sort of leave it. Well, I mean, each of us can be an example of goodness and kindness to the world. And I think it's wonderful that we meet people like that. Well, thank you, Tom. It's been wonderful to meet you. And everything Max said about you was true and stayed.
Well, like I said, we need 5 shows, not 1 show.
We're going to have a lot of fun with this.
But with an ordinary, I call myself, that's all I am, an ordinary person, lives in a little 1-bedroom flat, that's all, who wants to reach out and help people. That's it.
Well, I'm fascinated with what you're able to do. We're starting a program which we're basically going to try to enlighten the entire world about the fact that there is no death. I mean, that's something which is going to transform the world if we can do it. And truth, love, and joy starts with each of us. And so if we can teach the world that there is no death, that's going to transform the world. And that's what you're doing. And if each of us can be that spark of light, we can make the world a better place for all of us. And that's what we'll do. So big hug, my dear, across the pond.
Thank you. And I hope you have understood what I've said, and with a lot of love, a lot of emotion, a lot to go with it. And I still only know a very little, you know, so even though I've been doing this now for the last nearly 40 years, I still only know little. I only know little. I'm still learning. Each and every one of us are learning about life. It's if you're a pop singer, you're a good writer, so on and so on. Use the gift that you have. That's what I want to say as well.
Yes, I had wonderful neighbors when I was a small child, and they had a sign on their wall, which I never forgot. And the sign was, bloom where you are planted, which is what each of us is doing now.
Yeah.
So everyone, we've come to the end of our time. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you were with us today. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began and you never will end. And when you fully grasp all the implications of that fact, it's going to change everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest again will be our wonderful friend, Dr. R. Craig Hogan, who will be with us for the 34th time, because Craig and I are deep in working now with a wonderful team of experts to create, at last, Seek Reality Online. It's astonishing. We have so many friends now who know the glorious fact that human life is eternal, and the transition that we think of as death is amazingly easy. But the most important thing about it is that it's not death at all. It's actually a birth back to eternal life, the life we were living before we were born here, and the life that we will be thrilled to regain again. But most people are so afraid of it. Oh my God, for most people, death is an enemy, and it shouldn't be. Now it's our task, Craig's and mine and yours and everyone's, to at last help every person on earth to become so familiar with it that they come to see death as the beautiful next stage of the life that is eternal. The death rate from here is 100%, but it's really a glorious rebirth. We come here just to grow spiritually for a little while, but this is not our real home, and these are not our real bodies, and that's fortunate, because they become old and decrepit jalopies rather quickly, don't they? The wonderful news is that what comes after these very temporary lives on earth is really pretty fantastic. And Craig and I are getting a website ready now where we're going to be able to teach you the truth and show you the truth until you know the truth for certain. We're going to be talking more about that next week. And this week we've been talking with Tom Flynn, who is such a delightful man. He's a friend of a wonderful but kind of crusty British friend of mine. And he's actually proudly crusty, I might add. Tom Flynn is a healer. He's a medium, a mental medium, and he is someone who is working. He's blooming, truly blooming where he was planted, just as we all should do. And he is working to help, as we all should be doing, to help people understand that this life is brief, it's very temporary, and it is a gateway to a much, much greater eternal life, which we left for just a tiny, tiny while. And when we get back to it, it's going to be more glorious even than we remember. So everyone, let's help one another. As Tom said, let's help one another to remember what it was like and go home in joy, as he will be, as I will be very soon, as all of us will be. As you know, my nonfiction books are Liberating Jesus, My Thomas, The Fun of Dying, The Fun of Staying in Touch, The Fun of Growing Forever, The Fun of Living Together, and soon now, The Fun of Loving Jesus, Embracing the Christianity that Jesus taught. For young children, there's The Fun of Meeting Jesus, and you can order all these books through bookstores or on Amazon.com. The adult books are also available as audiobooks. If you want to talk about any of my books or anything at all, you can always contact me through the green contact block on robertagrimes.com, and I answer every email. Past episodes of Seek Reality are available on webtalkradio.net, realrevolutionradio.com, and really anywhere that podcasts are heard. Or if you prefer, you can just take from iTunes.com for free. You can take the app and see that it's a Seek Reality app. You can actually, I gather, begin to find it anywhere, and you will automatically get each new episode. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy, please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, knowing, always, never forgetting, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you in particular are infinitely loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.